Hello, I'm Peter Wilson. Firstly, thank you to the North Wessex Downs and the FIPL team for their funding towards this project. And I know you're looking forward to the more data coming from it. I'll give you a bit more at the end. Bit of background to start. In 2020, I diversified the farm business and built, a factory farm, a 32,000 layer unit, which is free range. When I looked at doing this, I wanted to do it properly and try and mitigate a certain number of environmental concerns. At the time, I was doing a stewardship application, so I was able to get funding towards a muck store. We're on quite a heavy clay loam. We muck the chickens out twice a week to be driving a tractor and trailer across the farm, into fields, tipping poultry muck. Just didn't sit right with me. We were going to have multiple issues with getting stuck, possibly even tipping trailers over. The muck had to be covered, which didn't sound like a particularly fun job. And I didn't want that environmental responsibility, so a permanent muck store made great sense to me. Originally, our aim was to use all the muck on the farm. Initially, that wasn't the case, as I'll allude to. When we went for planning, we had to have ammonia odour surveys done. We're within a kilometre of the River Kennet, which is Triple SI, probably 600 metres of the chalk downland on our farm, which is the environmental jewel on the farm. We've got a red-listed butterfly, the Duke of Burgundy there. I really don't want to see an impact on that. So then we move on to the muck and the storage issues we had. At the front of the picture there, you can see a trailer tipped. The muck's about 30% dry matter, so it's pretty wet. It slumps down. Initially, although we got 3 metre high walls, we could only stack it up probably not even 1.5 metres. So we weren't maximising the capacity of the shed. We could only store about 200 tonnes. So halfway through our first winter, I ended up exporting that 200 tonnes to another farm to actually keep us going with storage through the winter. We get a bit of effluent coming out of it as well, which isn't great, and it's trying to contain that in the shed. To get it stackable, the second winter we ended up chopping straw into the shed, trying to mix that up. We then moved on. We've got a firewood business neighbour, and we're buying the sawdust off of them that we've been mixing into the chicken muck to try and get it drier and stackable. We are able to stack it 3 metres now, which is great. It gives us the winter capabilities, but the issues with using the muck then with nutrient availability, having mixed sawdust in, definitely complicates the issues when we're spreading it. So I started looking for other solutions. Our poultry manufacturer for the equipment in the shed, Newquip, and Big Dutchman, they offer a muck drying facility you can buy, but that's about £200,000. It's very energy intensive, and it's geared towards drying muck for pelleting, and it was never going to be financially viable for what I was looking for it to do. I went to the Pig and Poultry Show a couple of years ago and came across a company called Pruex. Their main aim initially, when the company started, is to populate livestock areas, not necessarily poultry. You can have it in dairy, pigs, sheep, to populate a shed with food grade or food safe bacteria to effectively outcompete your pathogenic and less desirable bacteria, to not give them a space to live, with the aim of reducing antibiotics usage and resistance within livestock. The bonus or the side effect they found was the bacteria, eat into the muck and dry it out, which was my original aim, but in doing that, they're also locking up ammonia that's in the muck into the bacteria cell walls and reducing the ammonia coming off the muck. The system works by, in our poultry shed, we've got a whole tiered system, effectively like a pyramid, with different levels for the chickens to go on, with muck belts running under each layer. There's 6 muck belts running about 100 metres down the shed where the birds are. Across each of these muck belts, there's spray zones put in with spray nozzles every 1.2 metres, spraying this Pruex muck stabiliser, as well as spraying it onto the floor to dry the chicken muck out into litter that then they can dust bathe in. The bacteria, they dry the muck for us and also reduce the ammonia. And the bonus with this system is you are actually treating the cause of the ammonia and the wet muck rather than treating the symptoms. And that made really good sense to me, because I know I was lucky enough, the ammonia levels in the area, I didn't need to fit ammonia scrubbers to my poultry shed. I think if I had that, it's probably another £200,000 added to the build, plus the running costs. They involve the use of concentrated sulfuric acid in the system, plus you've got the waste product to deal with. This is reducing my muck volume that I have to handle, as well as reduce the ammonia in the shed. I think there should be, we'll see if it works. So we've got a little video here. You can see the mist coming out of the nozzles, spraying onto the floor of the poultry shed, and then also where the chickens are, underneath them is the muck belts, and that gets sprayed as well. So the project aims of this system were to have a dry muck that stacks easily and doesn't produce effluent. I'm aiming for a labour saving as well. We muck the chickens out twice a week. Once the system's fine-tuned, which we're still working on, we should be able to do that once a week, which is probably a 2 to 3 hour labour saving each week. We're reducing the volatilisation of the ammonia in the shed, so we're having a better environment for the birds and myself and the staff working in there. The shed itself is healthier because we're giving less space for harmful bacteria to live, such as E. coli, things like that, which are a risk for the birds, and salmonella. We're reducing the muck volatilisation as well in storage. As you can imagine, the muck store is very potent. I've seen a picture from Pruex where they've actually held a farmer meeting in a muck store with poultry muck in it on stabilised muck. There's no way my original muck store I'd want to be doing that. And also, when I'm spreading the muck, obviously there's a good odour. We're actually reducing the losses of ammonia from that and keeping it in the muck. And also, the bacteria are actually making the ammonia in the muck more available to plants. The bacteria themselves are taking up by the plants through their roots. They're giving the plants the ammonia, and in return for sugars, and then being ejected back into the soil to then potentially find more ammonia to bring back to the plants. There's also some evidence that these bacteria are giving off ethylene, which works as a growth promoter and is actually increasing the root mass of the plants that the muck spread on. So the overall aim is to decrease the environmental impact as well as having the labour saving on this system. Potentially also by decreasing the ammonia levels in the shed, the whole structure that is metal in the shed, hopefully I'm increasing its lifespan. It's projected to be 15 to 20 years. I'm hoping I can hit the top end of that, if not a bit more. And the system in the shed cost me about 650,000. That was pre-COVID pricing. I think it's around 750, 800,000 now if I wanted to replace it. Costings-wise for the system, it cost 27,000 for the equipment, so that's the pump, the control computer, all the plumbing throughout the shed. I received 16,000 from FIPL, so roughly it's cost me around 11,000 to install this system. Running costs, it's about £100 a week, so 5,200 a year to run it. To put that in context, that running cost is less than 0.5% of my weekly egg revenue. So I think that there's definitely a benefit in using it. So far, I've got the muck to 40%. When the system went in, it went in when we didn't have any birds in the shed in May. Suddenly, May races into June, July, harvest, planting window, and I've had some fine tuning to do. I was initially told apply the product for 6 seconds in each zone. My theory was if I split that 3 seconds twice a day, I'm covering more muck, and that should give a better result. The way the system works, priming it to 7 bar before spraying, when it kicks in, it's only the 3 seconds includes priming, which meant I wasn't getting enough product on, and that's why I'm only at 40% dry matter at the moment. The chap from Pro X has been out in the past couple of weeks. We've refined that now, so we're just spraying once a day while the birds are roosting, and the theory is the feather cover from the birds actually keeps the product on the muck rather than wafting around in the air as well. So I'm aiming for 50% dry matter. I think that should give the stackability I want. I don't want the muck too dry or it won't spread properly on the fields. We're spreading onto standing wheat in the spring and driving the tram lines plus once up the middle at 14 metres. If it's too dry, I won't get a good spread pattern. The litter in the shed has been really good with this flock. We've had capping issues before. Benefits of good litter is the birds are able to dust bathe in it, express natural behaviour, which is better for them, they're less stressed. Capped litter, the moisture in it also encourages it to generate more ammonia. This flock so far, compared to our last flock, we're 2% increase in egg production. We're 37 weeks into the flock, we're still at 95% production. Our last flock, we were at 93%. The breed standard at the moment for this stage in the flock cycle, we're 1% above that. Too early to tell really if that's actually because of the Pro X that we're using. It could just be we're lucky and have a good flock, but with our pullet producer and supplier, we're part of a benchmarking group, so hopefully with successive flocks, we will be able to get a better gauge on whether it is helping our production. Our egg quality is definitely better, which is a major benefit for us. We're not getting the losses from the packers, but also grading. We pack 30,000 eggs in 2 hours. When we have egg quality issues, you get eggs breaking in the packer, you've got to stop and clean it out. Poor egg quality can take grading from 3 to potentially 5 hours on a bad day. So we've got a good labour saving there with good egg quality. I'm yet to have muck tests done, and I'm not sure how well the tests will show me nutrient availability, but hopefully we're retaining more nitrogen actually in the muck, which should be beneficial to us. And we are seeing a definite ammonia reduction in the shed. We have sensors in the shed. This looks very confusing. Effectively, the spikes are just building up to every 3 to 4 days when we muck out. When we muck out the shed, the ammonia levels drop back down and then gradually build up till when we muck out again. The bigger picture is Pro X have got a shed exactly the same as ours with ammonia sensors in, but the shed isn't being treated with Pro X. Our ammonia levels are peaking at about 16 parts per million with the stabilised muck in the shed. On here, the green one, in places they're peaking at over 40 parts per million with the ammonia levels in the shed before a muck out. So it's looking like we have pretty well halved our ammonia emissions. And for me, I think a lot of the focus in farming has been on carbon, and ammonia gets sidelined as an air quality issue rather than a greenhouse gas. But I think it's becoming more to the forefront. We've seen a ban in the use of urea fertiliser unless it's stabilised post the end of March. And as an industry, we have to accept that we produce over 80% of the UK's ammonia, And if we don't get a hold on that and reduce it, we will probably have more legislative measures make us reduce it. I'm not getting any benefit at the moment for reducing my levels in my egg price, but I believe the system's paying for itself with the labour savings, with the dry muck, the nutrient availability in the muck, and also the healthy environment for the birds. In poultry, for us, the main win is at the end of the flock cycle, once you've paid for your pullets, which is halfway through a flock cycle, that's when you actually see the profit really come in. So if you can maintain good egg production past that and actually extend your flock cycle, typically a flock cycle used to be 72 weeks, that's moved to 76. Our last flock we took to 83. If we can keep that as a standard and maintain egg production and egg quality, then it should make us a more profitable and resilient business.